All right, appreciate you guys. Idaho Sports Talk, Prater and the ball game rolling right along on this Monday, Prater, and it's going to get a heck of a lot better. Zak Hill, new quarterback coach, announced last week by Spencer Danielson, returning to Boise State, and it gave us an opportunity to catch up with one of our favorite former Boise State quarterbacks, played for Zak Hill for his 2 years as a Bronco, the 2019 Mountain West Championship game MVP, and never lost a game as the starting quarterback for Boise State, Jaylon Henderson, with us today. Jaylon, really appreciate you. Can't wait to talk about this. But first, where in the world is Jaylon Henderson right now?
Hey, man. Good to see you guys again. Thanks for having me back. And I'm happy to be here. Right now, I am actually in Germany. So I am in Potsdam, Germany, right outside of Berlin. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. And, it's pretty chilly. I cannot lie. It's really cold here. I don't know if anybody's ever been through a German winter, but it's real. So we're experiencing it and we're having a good time. So
I haven't heard of it, German winters. I like it, man. We'll get back and we'll catch up on your professional odyssey, Jaylon Henderson. But first, I just want your opinion. You've played for a lot of coaches, professional. Yes. And in college, what makes a good quarterback developer in your opinion?
Well, John, that's a great question. I think what sort of highlights, a good quarterback developer is someone who sort of understands first what it is that they're trying to find in particular guy, what are his weaknesses, and then trying to take those weaknesses and explain it into a way that the person can understand and comprehend it, and then use that to go ahead and get better. What I think in a great, quarterback coach is someone who can identify someone's weaknesses, but also someone who can communicate to help that person get better at those weaknesses. So, that's pretty much what it comes down to for me. Someone who's educated in the position, and that's what it comes down to me.
He's Jaylon Henderson. He's a former Boise State quarterback, and he's also worked with new Boise State and former Boise State quarterback coach Zak Hill. We're trying to dive deep into the psychological and the coaching resume of Coach Zak Hill, now in charge of Maddux Madsen. So let's talk specifically about Zak Hill. What do you remember about him? What did you love about this guy? What, in terms of working with him, how did he work for you?
Zak Hill, he's one of my favorite coaches. One of my hands down favorite coaches. He's a super down earth guy. I remember he would always have us at the house, whether he was cooking for us, quarterback hangout time. Zak Hill is also very, very educated. Whenever he was my offensive coordinator, one thing that, he did really well, which is really hard to do, is understand each and every quarterback that was in that room, so that whoever was playing, he knew exactly what plays to call that were for that quarterback's strength. So essentially it was like he had his own playbook configured with all of our plays in his mind for everybody. So each person had a different playbook depending on what their strengths were. And he knew, okay, if this person's in the game, we're going to call these set of plays so that this person can go and execute at a high level. If this person's in the game, we're going to call these plays so that this person can go and execute at a high level. So that's something that I really remember about him. I remember him also coaching us very hard. A lot of times you want you find a little friendship, and, Coach Hill and I were good friends, but at the end of the day, his job was to make me a better player. And, sometimes in doing so, you're not always the nicest person, but he understood how to do it in a way to where you knew it was love and coaching coming from him. So whenever I saw that he got the job, it fired me up that he was going to be the quarterback's coach. And I think that a lot of people don't see it now, but towards the end of his tenure, they'll see that, he was the right person for the job and a great hire.
That covered a lot of territory right there. And maybe you even answered this question, but does he have a superpower? Is there like one thing that stands out about Zak Hill? It sounds like the relationship building and the individual attention given to each one of these quarterbacks, if that was certainly his style. But if I ask you what Zak Hill's superpower is, do you got a specific answer?
So he's got a lot of powers. I think his ability to generate creativity within an offense and, give a million different looks to make it as difficult as possible as a defensive coordinator to call the game. I think that's something that he excels at. And I think also his preparation going into each week and how he prepares for the game and how he prepares his quarterbacks for the game. I think that's a pretty special gift as well. While I was there with him, and even before I was there, he'd always had success. Whether it was a conference championship win, a bowl game win, he'd always been successful. So he's got a lot of special traits, in my opinion.
Jaylon Henderson with us, Japanese and German league MVP quarterback, and of course, former Boise State signal caller as well. And you spend a lot of time when you watch this team play, when you have a chance, Jaylon, of looking at the quarterback position, Maddux Madsen. I know you've been back in town. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet, catch up, anything with Maddux Madsen, but what you have seen with him. Jaylon, when you watch Mad Dog play, where do you think he needs to improve the most? Where is he going to benefit from Zak Hill?
Oh, that's a great question as well. I think Maddox is a phenomenal quarterback. He reminds me a lot of a young Brett Rippon. Brett's earlier days. That's sort of what Maddox reminds me about, but he can run a little bit as well. I think he does exactly what he's coached, and even above and beyond that. Now it's about, okay, how can I take this team to the next level? Yes, we can make it to the playoffs, but what do I have to do now to win in the playoffs? And then from there, from winning into the playoffs to winning the entire thing. And so really this offseason, taking that leadership role, and I'm not saying he was not a leader. I'm pretty sure he was a great leader for those guys. I mean, everybody loved him. I loved him. Everybody loved him in that locker room. But it's about this offseason really kicking into gear. No more Ashton Genty, right? Really kicking into gear and buckling down and working as hard as you can, and then getting the guys around you. Being such a team player that you put guys in great positions that are around you to get better and become more leaders in that facility. Okay, so you don't just want him as a leader, but you want him to help other guys become leaders. And when you start doing stuff like that, I mean, like I said, I think this offseason, all those guys returning, they really need to hone in and realize and remember the feeling that they felt in the Fiesta Bowl whenever they lost, right? We had the entire city, every single veteran, every single alumni, everybody in the Boise community was watching the game, and we came up short, right? And so whose hands is that in? Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to Maddux Madsen. He's the one on the field. Yes, Coach D is our coach, but Maddux Madsen's the one who touches the ball every single play. And so for him this offseason, really diving into that leadership role and then helping others out around him and bringing them along. I think that'll be important for him.
All right, Jaylon Henderson, we're having a conversation about Zak Hill, Boise State's new quarterback coach. You described in a previous answer just now about, Zak Hill play calling, had individual play calls for individual quarterbacks. Deep into play calling. He's not going to be the primary play caller or the play caller at all here at Boise State. Is that losing out on some of his strengths? And or if you even want to give it a positive spin, does that allow him, based on the logistics and how it works behind the scenes, to focus just on one simple task of coaching Maddux Madsen in the quarterback room?
I think it'll be unique. I think given who they have in those positions, I know Coach Potter is one of them. I think Coach Hill will be able to focus on quarterback development, but I also think that they're going to listen to some of his input as well. If he says, hey, I think we should run a play like this, or hey, I think we should disguise it like this, those guys are going to work in that room collectively. Now on game day, obviously there's going to be one person calling the plays, but that game plan is going to be put together by the entire staff. And so, Zak Hill's going to have a lot of input on that. And, at the same time of not having the pressure of having to call the plays, he can focus more on that quarterback development. But again, I think that, it'll be all beneficial for the old team, and he's going to have his input on the play calls as well.
Jaylon Henderson with us, and I'm not trying to get you to retire, man, because you keep giving us game-worn jerseys that we're hanging in our office. But hearing you talk like this, and you said you still are in communication with Zak Hill, when you're done playing, could you see yourself maybe getting into coaching, maybe even at the alma mater here at Boise State?
That's a great question as well. I'm not saying no to anything. I sort of have an idea of what I want to do whenever I'm done playing. And if those opportunities are there to venture into that world and that's what I want to do at the time, then that's what I'll go and do. And I mean, if that's not what is for me at the time, then probably won't be doing that. But I'll always be heavily invested to Boise State football and all up in it. Honestly, I'm going to be like this until I'm 90 years old walking with a cane. So
I'm not sure Zak Hill and Maddux Madsen have ever even met face to face. Maybe they have. Maybe there was an interview process. Maybe he was part of it. Maybe there was a Zoom call. Maybe they've met and hung out a lot. I don't know. But obviously over these next 2 months before they get into spring ball and certainly before they dive into a full season in August, the relationship building, you've been there. What do you want from a new coach in terms of how does he show up on this first day, shake somebody's hand, and build a relationship that's going to last for the next 2 years?
Well, I think it all starts with, setting a comfortable environment. So the first day, obviously setting those guidelines and your expectations as a coach, but at the same time, understanding that, these guys have been here with different coordinators. And even though, Coach Hill has been there in the past, it's not with these same players. So I think, it starts with setting a comfortable foundation, whenever they come in, being open, and then, making it clear that no matter how heated you guys get at each other, we all understand that it's love at the end of the day, and we all want to win. And he's got to pretty much help those players understand that he is there for their benefit and their benefit only, no matter what. So if he's getting on to them because they're throwing the ball in the dirt, it's because I love you and I want you to get better. And that's what I'm going to do. And, you start out a good environment and you get those guys bought in. Boise doesn't really have an issue with guys that don't buy in. And so I don't think the transition will be very difficult at all. Coach Hill's a really likable guy, and he understands a lot about the game. So, and he's been everywhere. I know he just came from Seattle. He probably learned even more there. So, yeah.
Talking with Jaylon Henderson, former Boise State quarterback, about new quarterback coach, former OC Zak Hill, and he returns. Knowing Zak Hill, watching Maddux Madsen play, what do you think the biggest challenge for Zak Hill to get the best out of Mad Dog on the field will be? Is it height? Is it maybe a lack of arm strength or any other factor there? What's Zak Hill's biggest challenge to get Mad Dog to be one of the better quarterbacks in the country?
Well, Mad Dog does a lot of good things. He does a lot of good things right now. He's makes good decisions. We can be a little bit more consistent with our accuracy. I know it's a lot easier for me to say this while I'm at home watching on the TV than throwing out there with live bullets. But Maddox does a lot of good things. I don't necessarily know a challenge that they will probably run into. I can see this as sort of a Zak Hill, Brett Rippon / Brian Harsin relationship. And, Maddox being one of the greats at Boise State, I can see it. And, that's a bold statement to make, but he has the right people in his corner. He made it to the college football playoff in his first season as a full year starter. And I think it's only up from here. I mean, he's only going to get better. I like the kid a lot. He's only going to get better. And Coach Hill is going to teach him a lot of valuable lessons that's only going to make him better as he gets older. So I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it.
I love it. Jaylon Henderson, always appreciate your time from Germany. Before we get you out of here, just a quick update for Boise State fans. If they want to follow you playing football next season. When does the German league start? Your training camp? Give us an update on your career.
Yeah, man. So German league starts in April. So we're in off season right now. German league starts in April, and I will be signing here pretty soon to determine where I'm going. Not sure exactly yet. But German season will be starting here in April. And yeah, I will be putting everything out whenever it's all said and done. And yeah, we'll be getting it going. But I will be playing another season. I know that. So just excited for it, training hard for it. And yeah, just getting ready to go, man.
Prater and I are envious, man. You got the perfect life, mid to late 20s, seeing the country, playing football, Oktoberfest in Germany. Jaylon Henderson, have a good one, man. We can't wait to bring you back on, and good luck this season as always.
Yes, sir. You guys.